Hey guys.
Wow.
Welcome back.
Where you been?
Welcome back to Set the Standard season.
Is this officially, is that what we're calling it, season 2?
Yeah.
The kickoff of season 2.
This is a new season of us.
2024. Wow.
2024.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
You know, it's kind of starting out rough for me, though.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Did you set your goals?
The Lions lost.
I know.
I mean,
We're not going to the Super Bowl.
I'll tell you what, you know, as a long suffering Lions fan, it was a good year. It was fun, but boy, that was a tough one last week. But other than that, no, life is good. How you been?
Good. I set my goals.
Oh, we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna get right into.
We want to get right into
Yes.
season 2. We don't want to waste any of
That's
your
right.
time. You've came here today to hear how you can set your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Did you set your goals?
By the way, who's talking? Who are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm your host, Genelle, and we have...
And Dad. Yeah, and this is the Set the Standard, Set Your Standard podcast. And if you haven't watched any of our earlier episodes, I think we have about 13 or so out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've covered a lot of topics, and we are trying to use the father-daughter perspective as we think about these topics, and it's been a lot of fun as Genelle and I are kind of looking at the world through two different lenses, but yet, you know, we have some of the same thinking on things, and we're continuing to learn and grow. So, you know, this is our opportunity to really share one that, you know, I've tried to talk to my kids about, and people that I used to work with and for, about setting goals. You know, I really think it's an important thing to think about. I mean, again, it's early in 24, and if you haven't ever done this, we hope to give you a couple examples or thoughts for the person who's maybe just getting started with doing something like this. And then we also, you know, maybe even for those who have maybe done goals in the past, but maybe there's another level to go. So with that, Genelle's going to kind of get us started here on it.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a few main points. I have taken my goals as I've gotten older very seriously. And by taking them seriously, writing them down and getting them set in my head and ways to follow through. So we're going to be talking about setting your goals. Did you set your goals? How to do check-ins and why you should do check-ins. Pivoting when it comes to changing up goals. And a BHAG.
Ooh.
What is that, Dad?
Don't give it up yet.
Okay.
We'll save it.
Okay.
It's called a BHAG.
A BHAG. And then just ways to have fun. Also, sorry if I'm sounding under the weather. I'm a little under the weather. Have a little cold. I've been changing climates crazy this month.
You're a climate changer.
I am a climate changer this month. So bear with me. First, though, I am so passionate about this topic. So I'm so glad that we're starting our season 2 off with this topic. So to get right into it, setting your goals. Did you set goals? Are you a goal setter? And if so, how to set them and follow through beyond just January. We all know those people that get in the gym on January 1st with such a big hope.
So what is a goal in your mind?
Something that I want to achieve to make me better in life.
Well said. I like that.
What's your definition?
Yeah, no, I think that is well said. It's funny you bring up the fitness one first, because it is true. In fact, I was talking to Genelle's brothers this past weekend. We were watching the football game, and they both go to a gym. And I said, hey, is it more crowded at the gym right now? And they said it's packed. And I said, you know, I'm glad. That's good news. People getting out there and trying to get fit and get in shape. But unfortunately, it usually starts, you know, they start burning out after a few months. So I told them,
we don't want that to be you.
No.
But let's start with the folks that maybe did not write down their goals. There are 2 ways to even just start and approach writing down goals. Because you know what's funny? Half the people I asked at the start of this year, I have friends and people I talk to on a regular basis, business people, things like that. I always said, you know, did you set a goal? And I would say half said yes, and the other half said,
well, that's good. That's, yeah.
Yeah. 2 ways to start, areas of examples to look on. So let's say you're like, I want to set a goal. this year. I want to get better in some way this year because everybody out there does, especially if you're listening to our podcast. Here are the areas to look at where you can start even just conceptualizing a goal. So your financial, personal, self/relationships. So goals within your financial status, your personal self, your personal life, your relationships with your family, your friends, and spiritual. My big piece of advice, if you want to set a goal, start with 2. I did a whole PowerPoint.
Two per category?
Whatever they want. Let's say they want 2 in finance. Let's say you're just focused on the money this year. Let's say you were so reckless with your money last year and you didn't make enough. It could be 2 in that. Let's say you've got everything else together and you're lacking in your spiritual life. Let's say you had a lot of falling outs with friends and you want to self-reflect about how to be a better friend, and that's a goal. It could literally be any. I would pick 2 goals from those subcategories: financial, personal, self, spiritual, relationships.
Physical should be one.
And physical.
Your physical health.
Right.
Or health. Let's make it health.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just focus on your top 2. That's where I started when I was young. So that helped me. And if you're like, a goal sounds so serious, it could be what you want to see yourself doing better or what you want to see yourself starting to do if you hadn't already. So let's say you're like, I want to try skiing. I did that this year. That's something I've never done. So that could be a goal you could just set for this year. Now, granted, that's hard. You have to have the climate, all that kind of stuff, but you get what I'm saying. Start simple. I ended up making a whole PowerPoint. My dad does this thing every year. He makes this PowerPoint. He sends it around and he basically tells you to fill it out where you can. And there are bullets for 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year plans under your physical, personal, relationship, financial, and career goals that you want to set. Now, I did not always set a 5 year because it is hard to think ahead, but my 1 years I was really, really big on.
You know, it kind of something to think about if you're tuned in and you've made it this far into this podcast and you say, yeah, I don't know about all this goal stuff. How many of you say you want to take 1,000-mile drive to a city somewhere you've never been? How many of you would do it without using your navigation or a map or any form of direction? Nobody would.
No one.
No one would.
Yeah.
So think of a goal as like a map to get you to where you want. And as you know, when you plug it into your navigation, what is it? It's a series of turn here, go here, straight here, turn there. So this is kind of what a goal is. It's a series of navigation that you take to get to the end result. And as you know, sometimes when you're driving, the road's closed. There's a lot of traffic. You run into these obstacles that sometimes can prevent you from getting to the goal maybe in the time that you want or in the exact way. It's never maybe a straight line. So the reason we talk about 1 year goals is because everyone has some desire to achieve something by the end of the year.
Totally.
And so navigating your way to that goal is really where the rubber meets the road. So you're literally deciding that. The reason we say a 5-year goal and why Genelle mentioned that's hard sometimes, it's hard to sometimes even envision. Some people, as an example, let's talk about careers. Somebody says, well, I know that where I work, if I do X, I'll get promoted to this. And then if I do that, because you can see the next level of job. You can see I could be a supervisor. I could be this. I could be that. So sometimes that part can actually be spelled out for you in the sense of there it is. Now it's just between you and that 5-year period and what you need to do, what steps you need to take to get there.
Totally.
Okay?
Yeah, that was great. I liked that because some people do want to fly by the seat of their pants.
Right.
But let's say you want to take this year differently. Let's say you're like, okay, I like those categories you gave me. I've got top 2 things in my head. What's the next thing that you do? You write them down. And one of the great things that I love about the PowerPoint that you send out and that we fill out, or just me telling my friends to go and write it somewhere if they don't want to do the PowerPoint, or even create your own Excel or your Word document, whatever you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I found that even if I wasn't referencing back to my goals every month or every 6 months, it was still implanted subconsciously into my head when I wrote them down. Because at the beginning of the year, you already know you're going into the year with a fresh mindset. You're like, it's a new year. Like everyone is set in that tone, right? We're celebrating the new year, all these things. So when I sat down at the top of the new year, and it's not too late, it's never too late, but especially in January, when I sat down and I wrote down these goals, I was finding that, like I said, even though I wasn't referencing
They become
back,
real.
they become real and
That's
set
right.
in my head.
That's right.
So that's why it's so important. Even if you want to achieve one thing from the categories that I had talked about, write it down. It will sit in your mind.
You have to write it down. It isn't even an option. You know, I have people in my past life where I'd say, do you have goals? Oh, yeah, I do. Where are they? Oh, they're in my head. Oh, okay. So I understand what a dream is. A dream is something that one day I want to take a trip to such and such. Okay, well, that's a dream. Well, the difference between a dream and a goal is going to get done. You're going to find a way to get there. And when we think about a year of a goal, we're not just saying, I'm going to set this goal and then a year from now I'm going to look at it. That's not what we're saying. There's going to be incremental steps we're going to take. And that's why the 5-year goal gets kind of exciting. We go 1, 3, and 5. The reason we do a 3 is because part of the 3-year goal is hitting the 1-year goal. Part of what we'll talk about in future podcasts, part of the monthly goal will help you get to the yearly goal. So how would you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time, right? You have to look at things in the same perspective. You know, if anyone's ever heard of SeaWorld or heard of the killer whales that jump or dolphins that jump out of the water, you know how they start training those dolphins and the killer whales?
Not ethically. No,
the orcas. Well, I know that part is, I know a little bit, but seriously, they start with the bar in the water and then the dolphin goes over it.
Yep.
Then they raise it. Eventually it's above the water. Dolphin goes over, reward with fish, and so on and so forth. So the dolphin doesn't come out and just start jumping over the bar, right?
Right.
So the point is that you have to put yourself in a realistic position to say, hey, I know in order for me to achieve this year 3 or 5 is going to take a lot of this to get there. But look, if I break it down, you know, to measurable goals I can achieve. And I talk a lot about SMART goals. And we'll follow this up. You know, I think it'd be best if we put something that they can, you know, visually see so we can attach it in the podcast. But my point being is that then what you have is the ability to measure your success as you get to the goal. And that's so important.
So with that being said, it gets us to our next point, how to stay on track and hold yourself accountable. So we just talked about one really important one, writing them down. Mm-hmm. But the second thing I would say is saying it out loud and telling somebody. And this isn't just stepping outside your front door and screaming it outside. You
could do that if you want.
I think it makes it fun, especially like a lot of you out there, especially Gen Zers and millennials my age, they make vision boards. So they get together with their friends, they cut out pictures, they put the pictures on the board, and then they look at it, and it's like a fun thing to do. Well, so this year for me and 2 other people, we wrote out our goals. We got together. We're like, all right, let's set a night, let's set a day, and we discussed our goals. And that not only allows you to just, I guess, pound it into your brain a little harder and convince yourself of these goals and that you're going to achieve them because, right, you wrote it down. Well, you thought about it. You wrote it down. Now you're saying it out loud. You're now also saying it to somebody. Hopefully you have somebody in your life, a family member, a sibling, a friend, a coworker, someone that can hold you accountable in the sense where they're going to be like, hey, how's that financial goal you set? Or how's that friendship you wanted to work on? Or
how's the fitness goal?
Yeah. How many push-ups you got?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
You know, or how many pull-ups, or how
are
long,
you preparing for a marathon?
Yeah.
Or
are you doing your
10K?
Are you doing your 30-minute walk every single day, 5 days a week after work? Whatever it is, it just is another way to hold you accountable and to get you in the mindset to achieving it. It's all these little games and these tricks that you have to play with yourself.
Well, there is some mind over matter that happens when I think you said something that's pretty powerful, and that is when you speak them and write them down, they become more real to you. And here's what's interesting. Do you want to be the person that 12 months from now, the person that you've maybe shared your goals with and you've asked them to help hold you accountable, say, hey, how'd you do on your goal? I quit. You know what? No one wants to say that, right? You want that accountability factor.
Totally.
And that comes from you writing them down. You'll find that process. I love that you said that. The check-in And you can do this with a good friend. You can do it with, parents. You can do it with your significant other, whatever, siblings, and set it in your calendar now, whether you do it monthly, every 2 months, something. So every 3 months, but set it in there that you're going to get together and talk about them. And you'll be amazed at how that accountability factor really does transform how you think about these. And there's something else that happens is that when you are starting to check the boxes along the way of achieving that goal, man, that's a great feeling.
You get more motivated.
Oh,
too.
it's like, it's awesome.
So then what are the 5 Ps?
Yeah, so I always used to tell people prior planning prevents poor performance. That's the 5 Ps.
Prior planning prevents poor
Right.
performance.
Peter Piper picked a pickle peppers. No, it's just prior planning prevents poor performance.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
planning these things, we all have the same amount of time. Nobody gets more time. The guy that makes $9 gazillion a year, the person that makes 10,000, we all have the same amount of time. How you use your time and how effectively you use your time is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have to go to work. We all have to do our jobs, whatever that is.
Yep.
Some people's jobs require more time than others, blah, blah, blah. But we all get the same amount of time to work, sleep, and eat, right? And how we use that. So the prior planning, the 5 Ps, is around that idea. Look, if you're getting ready, I always used to tell Genelle, or share with Genelle, not tell, hey, on Sunday night, get your planner out, look at your phone, whatever it is, and just look at your schedule and say, okay, what can I fit in? What can I take out? Where am I going to be able? This way you don't, overdo it. And this way you fit in what's important. Your goals are right next to you. Your phone has right next to your goals, and you look at your goals and you say, okay, I can get out and get that 3-mile run in on Tuesday. This will get me to my goal of running a marathon 6 months from now or whatever. To get my promotion, I have to do these things in order to make sure my boss knows that I want this promotion. So I'm going to make sure, boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to wait to the last minute. I'm not going to try and rush it through. I'm going to plan, and this accountability factor and the review of the goal is important.
Yeah, so that leads us into our next one. After you have found a goal or a few, and you've written them down, you've told someone maybe or whatever, ask them to hold you accountable, you'll hold them accountable. Then it's the check-in. It's the timely reviews. My dad said something while we were writing notes on this. He was like, scheduling something in will make it so much more likely that it'll be done. So schedule in, and I know this sounds crazy to be like, I'm going to schedule in with my friend.
It does.
But it is. But like mentally just be like, oh, it's a new month. You know what? I'm going to text so-and-so. I'm going to call so-and-so and not only check in on them and just say hi, because hopefully this is someone you care about. Or if you walk into work, whatever it is, the gym, wherever you see your person, you go, hey, so how's that goal going? Because that not only reminds them that they need to now be accountable to telling you where they're at, they're going to also hopefully ask you the same. So it kind of puts pressure on these goals that not only you're going to keep for yourself and, whatever, but now someone else knows and they want to know the check-in. They want to know, how's it going? Because you want to know how it's going for them. It kind of makes it fun, kind of makes it competitive. It's like a game, but it's fun. And I can be scary because you can be disappointed where you are in your goal. There are times where I've had goals and I'm like, oof. My friend asked me, I'm like, I'm not there yet, but I had to pivot. So that leads us to our next point. Pivoting goals and knowing that pivoting is totally fine.
Yeah, and what we mean by the word pivot or modify, what have you, is a couple things. On the positive side, maybe you achieved your goal quicker than you expected. So now's not the time to say, oh, I hit my goal. It's only 6 months in. I'm good for the year. Start another goal. Right?
Totally.
So create another goal, whether it's in the same category, another one. Or something happens that is outside of your control that really makes the goal that you just are going after is just not going to happen. I've always been the type of person where the job that I had already had goals built in. I would have to create the goals, but they were part of a bigger goal. So it was, something I've always done. But I always had personal goals too, and I would always form those goals around something I wanted to accomplish. A lot of times it was physical stuff, or home projects was another one. I'd always have some. I've already got goals for this coming year for some home projects. And so that part of what I began to appreciate about that was, especially when it was something that I could see or look back on. I'll give you a great one. So my wife and I wanted to do a 14er. I might have talked about this once before. Climb 14,000 foot peak. And a lot of those are in Colorado. There's 57 14,000 foot peaks that are climbable in Colorado.
15,000?
I'm sorry, 14,000 feet peaks. There's 57 14,000 foot peaks in Colorado.
Got it.
So anyway, we were like, we live in Michigan. There's no mountains here. How are you going to get in shape to do something like that? So there's a park not too far from here, and they have these stairs that are like, there's like 180 stairs. It's the craziest thing. And so we were like, well, we got to go over there and climb those stairs. And we're like, okay. So we'd go over there, and we go up and down these stairs. We'd do it like 10 times, besides all the other hiking and walking we were doing. And so at the end of the day, all that led up to this one moment where we were going to go out to Colorado, and we were visiting someone, so it worked out really nice, and do this hike, And so weather aside, you set up for this, and we did it. And it was such a cool thing to do. And where I was going with this is, when you tell someone you did it, and there's people who couldn't even imagine doing something. Now, listen, I'm not trying to act like I'm some big mountain climber here at all. But the fact that we said we were going to do it, and that was nice. We trained together. So if you can find a partner, your significant other, whatever it is, and do something like this together, then we did it, and we had a picture at the top and all this stuff. So it was really kind of cool, and it energized me to do more stuff. So it feeds on itself. It's like momentum in life. Momentum in life will feed on itself, as does sometimes when something bad happens and you get in this position like,
right.
Oh,
so
man.
The good and the bad of
That's
pivoting
right.
goals.
That's right. So always staying, in the frame of mind that you're going to have goals set up. If you achieve some sooner than others, pick another one. So we probably need to get to the BHAG.
Yep. We're on the BHAG, which is a big,
hairy
ass
as goal. And this came out of a book I read many years ago, and so I can't take credit for it. But
well, let me just say something
go ahead.
really quick.
Yeah.
The people that I have asked about goal setting, and if they do set goals, the ones that said no, I had asked, I was like, oh, what? You just don't want to think about it, or why didn't you set a goal, or why are you not interested? And they were like, well, I used to set goals and I would never achieve them. So I thought maybe I'll approach it by not even setting the intention of a goal, so I'm not disappointed. And who probably said that. Yeah. And I was like, that's okay, because if you aren't achieving, listen, I've had a lot of goals in my life that I still haven't reached yet, that I hope to one day, and some that I've strived for and some that I hadn't yet, but there's still goals in my head. That just means you have to pivot, or look, what's really cool about writing goals, at the end of the year, you can be like, okay, why didn't I achieve? If I still want this goal, why didn't I achieve it this year? And what can I do different this upcoming year to get closer? Because then also sometimes you may not be achieving the goals, but how can you get closer? And then from there also, it can teach you so much just about yourself. You can also just learn, oh, wow, I didn't manage my time the way I should have about this goal. That's why I didn't achieve it. Oh, man, maybe this is something I really don't want as bad as I thought I wanted, because I'm not putting in the time and the effort that it needs to be achieved. So also, when you're setting goals, make them more realistic. And that leads us into our BHAG, which is something a little bit more extravagant, a little bit more of a dreamer.
Go ahead.
So you were reading a book. Go ahead and continue.
Yeah, so sometimes, and this is maybe where the dream and the crazy goal sort of come together. And you allow yourself to imagine the most, and it doesn't always have to be, hey, I want to parachute off, the Empire State Building, or something like that. It's something that you would have always dreamed about, and then you start thinking, how can I bring this to reality? So you create this big, hairy goal, this goal that is just, it's like, even saying it, you think, man, that's going to take a lot to get there. And so when you set, and that could be professional, it could be personal, it could be financial, it could be whatever. It doesn't matter. It could be something as crazy as, I want to ride my bike 100 miles. You could never even imagine that because you've never ridden 5 miles.
Yeah.
So right, it's all relevant to the person and what that is. Like, I want to save $10,000 this year. You've never done that. That's what I want to do. That could be your BHAG. So but it could be, I want to go to Paris and I want to see the Eiffel Tower. Maybe that is your BHAG. Write it down. The key to that one is write it down. And here's what you'll find about that. When you start writing that down, as we said earlier, it becomes your reality now. It becomes your accountability to wanting to hit the BHAG. And then you tell someone, you know what? I set this big, hairy goal for myself that I want to do. I want to go to Australia. Mm-hmm. And then now all of a sudden it came off your lips. I want to go to Australia. Well, I said it, right? Now it starts to come alive.
Yeah.
That's why it's something cool. It's fun. Have fun with it.
Totally. Yeah. So have fun, dream big. And my biggest piece of advice for it is don't detach from the actual outcome. And I'm not saying to not get excited about something you could potentially achieve, but detach from the potential disappointment of maybe not getting it this year, but who knows, you'll get it next year or the third. I think a lot of people, even, this is going to go way off to the south, but in dating, people go on the first date and they really like the person, and then they get attached to this idea that this is going to be their husband or wife. and while that can be fun, I found a lot of times people were getting disappointed because they were like, oh, this person turned out to be a fraud. Same thing with the goals. It's, if you put so much attachment onto this one BHAG goal, this big dream, this whatever, and you're so whatever, and then all of a sudden the letdown is so painful at the end of the year, don't do that to yourself. Be fair and know that at the end of the day, like I said about the other goals, if you did not achieve this BHAG goal this year, what did you learn from it? What did you learn about yourself? And then how is this going to prep you to tweak your goals for the new year? So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well
I think
said.
That's
is that a wrap?
My key of advice.
What we want to do in future is we can get more detailed on the goal setting. I think this is a great overview. Listen, if you Google goal setting, you're going to come up with all kinds of
how to do it.
Great details. SMART goal is one in particular that I like. If you want to Google SMART goal,
you always talk about those.
Yep, you can get there's templates for sure, and you can find it, and you can again take some quiet time and fill it out, and listen, we're just asking you to think about 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah.
Try it this year. If you've never done it, try it. Put something around it. Get someone to hold you accountable. Write it down. Have fun with it. Meet for coffees on a Saturday morning, whatever, and get after it, man, because it'll change your life.
Yeah.
It will. It changed my life setting goals. I absolutely am here today to tell you that had I not thought or planned and had goals, I wouldn't have achieved what I did.
Yeah, and like you said, you want to go into it with some sort of mindset. I get excited. This year is probably the most excited I've been for a year in a really long time, just because I actually thoroughly took some time to write down some goals.
Yeah.
So it actually gets me excited to even follow up. And I even got excited to then do some quarterly goals as well.
Nice.
So, yeah. So that's our setting the standard. Set your 2024 goals. You still have time. It is the beginning of February.
Set your goals, set your standards, and live your best life.
And let us know down in the comments what your goal this year is. Say it out loud. If you haven't said it to anybody, say it out loud in the comments to us.
We will encourage you.
We will encourage you. We'll remember what you guys had said. So when we revisit topics like this, we can even shout you guys out and hold you accountable.
Shout out.
So anyways, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to follow us. Give us some love.
Yeah, we'll take
YouTube.
the subscribe, the thumbs up.
Yeah,
some love.
all of it.
All right.
And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Welcome back to season 2. Let's
That's
go.
right. Peace out.
Bye.